Techie from Project 39 Mini Albums. This video explains how I did some of the special features in this mini album that I made with the Graphic 45 collection, P.S. I Love You. I talk about how I did the frame, how I cut the paper for this, a little bit about the decorating, and there's a lot in it about how I chose the papers, and really it's about paper selection and decorating of the mini album. A lot of people have been asking me the process that I use when I'm decorating a mini album, so this has some tips and tricks in it. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, I am going to start decorating, and I am also going to be telling you why I've chosen the papers so you have an idea, a little insight into my designing. So this is the inside front cover, and I chose this paper, so it's an off-white, and it's got a little texture in the background of the beigey color, and of course it's got the fonts. In addition to that, I wanted to use this paper just because I liked it. I thought it was so pretty. So it is also, the background has a little bit of the beigey color besides the off-white base to it. So they're both the same. Now this has a tiny pattern and this has the lettering. So I chose those two because they match really well. And so the spread I'm going to have for the inside front cover and the front of page 1 is going to coordinate with that. Now I'll bring in another paper or two and a couple of the cut aparts. So let's start with this. So this page is 8.5 by 6.25. This piece is 8 3/8. Yep. Use the side of the ruler. By 4 5/8. And I'm going to put it on with just about a 1/16 of an inch top and bottom and on the side. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on now. So I like to put glue around the perimeter, not right on the edge, because when you burnish it, the glue will seep out, and that way not too much will seep out. And I use a liquid adhesive because it gives me a little bit of a give time. And in addition, that means it's the only adhesive I need. I mean, I use some double-sided permanent tape, but besides that, that will work. Now, here's my bone folder. So I'll burnish that. There is some glue that comes out, so I have what actually amounts, oops, there goes my bone folder, to an old t-shirt that I cut up. You want something that doesn't have a lot of lint. And I know that t-shirt's been washed 1,000 times before. I just decided I'm done. All right, so I cut, this is just some plain pattern paper. It comes from this piece. So there is the off-white. Now this, truth be told, is a little more white than I wanted it to. It doesn't have the beiginess, the pattern underneath, but it'll work for just a small piece. This piece is 8 3/8 tall, and there is a direction on this leaf paper, by the way, by 1 1/4. So I'm going to put that on. Now wait, before I put it on, I'm trying to decide if I want to round the corners. And I know that I thought about it and decided, yes, I do. So I'm going to use a corner rounder. I guess I'll round it with the largest corner rounder, which is 10 millimeter. So I'll have to round this paper as well. So I will put this on, but I'm just going to take a quick look and make sure You should always dry fit things. It's so much easier. I'm sure I will make a mistake as I put this together, but it's always easier to fix it before you've adhered things. So as I put it, I make sure this is parallel. It needs to go down a little bit. The line is parallel. And you usually can just eyeball it. Okay. And then I have this teeny piece, which is about a 1/8 of an inch. It isn't about, it's 1/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to put tiniest bit of glue. There we go. Okay. And I like how that looks at the end. All right. We'll talk about this later. So I have this piece, which is cut 8 3/8. Do I run around this corner? I think I do. I think I like the rounding of the corner. The paper, there's so many straight lines that I like sort of softening some of the pages by rounding it. Okay, but before I put this on, now this is where you have to determine if you're going to use a magnet. I am not. I'm going to use this little doohickey. Is it a game piece? Or I think it's clock hand, actually. And I'm going to use that. I wish it was black, but I don't have a black one. But we'll put it on and use a brad to attach it. So that'll hold that page in nicely. I'll grab my pencil and so I just lightly, I just put this paper down, center this on the page, make sure when it turns to the side, yeah, that'll be good. And I will, before I put a hole in here, I'm going to grab a little piece of packing tape. You could also use some double-sided adhesive, score tape, if you will. I just want, trying to find the end of my, and it's going to be here. I just want it to stay on there and be very strong. I don't want it to, the paper to tear. I'm finding that hole. Okay, so I've made a hole there. I'll take my little, have to find my brad. So I'll take this. You know what I could do is I could have taken an alcohol marker and changed the color of it. So I'm going to put that down there and push that down. I'm going to use the eraser on my pencil. Don't push too hard because it'll make the lead of the pencil come out. And then I can go ahead and attach this. Oh, you may notice that I am not inking up the edges of these pages. You could if you want to. I just decided that there is enough variation in color on the pages that I didn't feel like I needed to. So again, make sure there's about a 1/16 of an inch top and bottom. and burnish that. So now this will just stay closed like that. It's just an alternative instead of using magnets all the time, and it adds a little bit of a decorative element. All right, so that's that. I will do one for the inside. Let's work on here. So this is 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. I thought it would be nice to put a 5 by 7 photo here in the front of the book. If you don't have 5 by 7 photos, you still could put a 4 by 6 photo. You could mat the 4 by 6 photo with black and put it on here. That would look fabulous. But you'll notice there's a little bit of a decorative edge around that. So I have this stamp set from Stamperia. It is this stamp. It's just a slight design, just 2 lines and sort of like an asterisk. There's also this stamp that I could use, but I felt that looked like a lot like snowflakes. I might use it later. I'm not sure. Love the stamp set, by the way. But I use that around the border of my 5 by 7 photo mat. So that is on there. It's as straight as I can get it. And then I've cut 2 pieces that are 3/8 of an inch. They're by 12 because I have not cut it down. 3/8 by 12. I'm going to just lay it here. I'm not going to glue it yet. And then I've cut 2 pieces that are 3/8 by 12 and 2 pieces that are 6 inches by 1/2 an inch. And then that will make a nice border around here. But what I need to do is cut, oh, now I need to round the bottom. I need to cut this into a bevel on all of them. So what I'm doing is making sure that where this, I want the beginning and the end to match on all of these. This needs to get a little closer. And then I'm going to just take a tiny bit of glue and glue it down below here. So I'm making sure the bottom meets up and the side meets up. For both of these. Okay, that's good. Let's double check the top. Going to add a little bit of glue there. I want the side to meet. Good. No, it's not glued down onto my paper yet. Okay. So now that that's all done, take this. And you could use a pair of scissors if you want. I am not. I'm using a ruler. I'm going to cut this from the inside corner to the outside corner on all 4 corners. Inside corner to the outside corner. And then this over here, I guess I should have taken my corner rounder. That has to be rounded too. Do you have to go through all this trouble? No. I just like a finished beveled corner. So here I'm going to just cut this off at the top. And then I'm going to round it. And I'll have to round this one. Yes. And then I have to round this one. As if it was attached. Okay. And this little piece can come off too. Alrighty. Going to do the top since I left it attached. I'm not going to push it down until I am sure. All right. So there we have a little frame around my 5x7 mat. Okay, this page. I have to do more finagling here. So I'm going to use this here. It's one of those accessory pieces. We're going to put a waterfall over this, and I don't want to waste all of this paper because most of it's going to get covered. I don't know what I'm going to use the paper for, but at this point, it doesn't matter. I'm going to cut about 3/4 of an inch from both sides. And top and bottom, just so I can use this somewhere else. It is probably not, it doesn't have right angles. It's not perfectly straight. But I just hate to, if I had unlimited paper, I would be okay. But I don't, unfortunately. I only have the 12x12 and the 8x8, the 12x12 patterns and solids, and the 8x8. That'll go on here. And to be honest, most of this page is going to be covered with the waterfall, so it's not going to be critical. There we go. All right, let me move this aside, and we'll talk waterfall. So for the waterfall, oops, I don't need this. For the waterfall, I have cut 6 pieces of my black cardstock, 5 by 6.5. I'm going to score it 1/2 inch on the 5-inch side. So the 5-inch side, I'm sorry, on the 6-inch side. The 5-inch side's at the top. I'm going to score it 1/2 inch. I also will take a plain piece of black cardstock, 6.5 by 7.5. I'm going to round the bottom corners. Now I use the smaller corner rounder, the one that is 7 millimeter, and I'm just going to use that. I also cut white cardstock 4 3/8 by 6 3/8, and I rounded the corners, and I'm going to put, so I cut 12 of those, and I am going to put one on each side. Actually, I'm going to leave the top one off. Fold and miter on that 1/2 inch piece, but no, don't miter the corners. Fold and burnish. This is the top one. So I am going to take the top one. I am going to add adhesive to this piece, and this is going to go with that score line at the very top, and make sure you're even with the sides on both the right side and the left side. So this is the makings of a waterfall, and I've already put that white cardstock on here. Now I might later, when I'm done, put some more pattern paper on the bottom of this white cardstock, just to add a little more of a pattern to it, but I'm going to wait to see what I have left. If you have unlimited paper, then you don't have to wait. You can go ahead and do it if you want. You could do it on all of the fronts of the pages. You could do it on the bottom 1/2 inch, or the bottom inch, or 3/4, or whatever you want. And when I say the bottom, I mean the bottom of each of the pages, which would be right here on the front, because you would see that. I love waterfalls. I think they're a great design feature, and in this case, it gives you a lot of room to put your photos on. So I like to have one in most mini albums. I don't know that I do in every one. And especially if you have a mini album where a lot of the pages or for whatever reason, the orientations of the photos and the pages will be portrait, then you can use this to put landscape photos in, or vice versa. If you have a lot of landscape oriented photo mats. But that is why I use hidden pockets, or that is what I use them for, the pockets. So that way you can put photos in any orientation, because it's interactive. You're going to pull it out to look at it. So there is that. Oh, that's why I needed that extra piece, so I could put it here. So this was 6.5 by 7.5. I think I might cut this down a little bit. I always make it a little bit too big. So that way I can change it if I need to. Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay. Okay. There's our waterfall. Now I have some other pieces cut out to make the flap for the waterfall. One piece is cut 2 by 6 1/4. I am actually going to take my scoreboard and score it at 2 with the 6 1/4 side at the top. I'm also going to take my paper or corner rounder and round the corners. So that's going to go there. I'm going to put magnets on the other side. I'm going to round these corners. Why do I have so many? Because I want a really thin layer of the black and white before I put pattern paper. I just wanted extra matting here. So these 2 white pieces will be cut 4 1/8 wide. I mean long, 4 1/8. So I've rounded the corners. I have 2 of these together. We're stopping at 4 1/8, and we're cutting that. And I'm going to adhere these on right there. One there, one on this side. And this I will cut these 2 at 4. Plus, by having this many layers, it makes it very sturdy. And actually, when we put the magnet on here, it's going to snap into place. All right, we'll fold that and burnish it. And I'm going to center this here. And center that. Turn that over, add glue. And there we go with that. So I will add a little magnet here before I put pattern paper on and match it with there. Let's bring back our book. So this is going to go centered on here. And you notice we don't even notice the that I cut a hole in the pattern paper. Although that did come up a little bit. So now I'm going to add adhesive to this. And we'll center this on here. Alrighty. A word of caution. If you're going to use a magnet here, wait till after you've put the waterfall in and then add your magnet. Don't put it in first. All right, so that is that. And let's add some pattern paper to the front. I have cut 2 pieces of this black paper, which I took from that scrap. See, I knew that would come in handy. 1 5/8 by 3 7/8. That's what I thought it was. I already added a magnet to the inside. And I'll go ahead and cover that magnet. With one of those. There's the other magnet. I will add this one. And that'll go to the front. And then I already put a piece of double-sided permanent adhesive there. That magnet I put on will stick to it. I've already cut this down. I reserve the right to further decorate this, but for now, I'm just going to put this on. And there we go. So I'm liking this. I'm liking that. This will close. This will go in first. This will close. I like that. But let us cover this and let's determine what I'm going to cover it with. So what I'm going to put on this side is I want some white to balance out this. And I've got the dark in here. I don't want to do dark over here. So I'm going to put this pattern paper, I'm introducing this into this layout, but it'll be repeated over here. And then I will add 2 small photo mats to put 2 small photos or for journaling. So I'm going to go ahead and round the corners and glue it all down, and you will see that later. So that's what I'm going to do for that spread. Okay, I'm going to talk about how I decorated this page. So obviously I wanted to have everything flow. So I wanted to choose patterns that went together. For the focal point, I chose this love piece. It came from a cut apart. I layered it on white paper, which was layered on the pattern paper, which was layered on black. So a lot of patterns there. And then I wanted to replicate some of the patterns from the left side on there. I wanted to break up a little bit of the pattern. It's got that darker color, so that's why I had the strip on the bottom. You could either add it to the very top of it or cut it. So over here, I again wanted to include some of the patterns from the previous page to keep it all flowing, but I didn't want all of the patterns the same. So I've got this white strip on the side. I just thought it broke up some of the patterns and gave you room to journal. And that's why I chose the paper for there. So now on this page, I want to do a color that's completely different. So first I'm going to start with a focal point and choose what I want for the focal point. I keep my cut aparts in this 12 by 12 page that's got little pockets in it. And this way I can look at a glance what I've got. So I think I'm going to use this one. It fits on there nicely. It's got some more green in it that I didn't have in the previous page, so I can pull that out, but it has a lot of dark in it. So I decided to go with this lighter one. It just has a little more, just some different colors I can go with, where I've got all of the browns and blacks on the previous page. I'm going to go with greens and beiges here because this cut apart's got the green and it's got that tone on tone below all that writing, um, like that off-white with some beige. So that's what I'm going to use as my focal point. And these are the papers that I chose to go with it. So I'm going to use this, which has the wreath, and it's got some writing on it, the black writing, so that goes nicely with it. And then I also wanted to use the paper that's got the green leaves. That coordinates nicely. I was gonna use this, but it's got green writing. But instead of that, I will use the back, which is just the green. So these are the three papers that coordinate to me, in my mind, with this cut apart that I chose. And if I need to, I will introduce this pattern. I don't want to go with the stamps because I want to use that later. So I'm going to work with these. Now I have these little cut aparts that came from one of the pages. I don't want the black writing. Again, I want to keep it a little light and airy just to go along with everything that I've got going on here. So I'm looking at this. Do I want to go with this? I love the border at the top, but it's got the leaves in it. So I'm just trying to decide which is the best way to go. I've got this little strip that's got that, from this paper, it's got the tone on tone pattern. And I thought that would be something nice to use to break up all of the full size patterns. I can use that to cut into some of the patterns. All right, I've started decorating the back of page 1 and the front of page 2. And I realized there's a lot of real estate to fill with pattern paper. And I'm looking at my paper thinking, I don't know if I will have enough to finish the book. So that being a concern, I decided I'm going to supplement my pattern paper. I mean, look at all the spaces on here. I mean, it's not terrible, but in any case, what I decided to do is make some photo mats that will sort of coordinate. And my idea is, it's ever so light, but underneath this, where it says always and forever, is a very tone on tone pattern. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. Now, I could just use this paper, which would be great, but I only have one sheet left of this paper, so it's not going to be enough to finish all I wanted to finish and have some of this left over for journaling spots. So I figure what I'm going to do is make um, some photo mats to coordinate. So these are my practices, and I'm going to show you. This one's probably closest, because if you see, again, the background, And maybe the color's not spot on, but it's close enough. So this is what I'm going to do. Whoops, that was for the back of the book. All right, this is just a practice sheet. I have some antique linen distress spray stain. I'm going to spritz just a little bit. And then I'm going to spritz, I have a bottle that has water. I'm going to also spritz this because I don't want too much color. And then I will simply go like that. Very light tone. So let's dry it. And then I'm going to dab it another time, getting in some additional color. Don't want too much. That's probably all the color I want. I'm going to clean this off. Now I've done 5 or 6 at a time, so I'm usually not wiping this and wasting all of my color. And then I will dab it to take off the excess moisture. And I'll dry it one more time. Okay. And then I have a graphic 45 stamp. I'm looking for the package. It was part of this. It's the Script and Argyle stamp set. And it's a good size stamp. I mean, almost 4 by 5, so it's a good size stamp. And I'm going to very lightly, I have been using the antique linen, but I'm also going to use some brushed corduroy because it's got that deeper tone. I'm just dabbing very lightly in a couple of areas. On both of those. I'm gonna take my dauber and just take off a little bit just so it's not really too much color. Now I suppose I could use my stamping platform for this, but I didn't. So there we go. I'm going to do a little more on the top. There we go. It's tone on tone. You can see a little bit of the script very faintly. This would make a good photo mat. And then I suppose if I wanted to, I could edge it with this decorative stamp along the edge. And I don't know, call it a day. So you'll see the finished product once I put it in the book, but that is my idea for filling in. Now, you don't have to go through all that trouble if you don't want. You could use plain paper. If you have a stamp that says place photo here, you could do that. You don't have to do that. You could have purchased extra patterns and solids and use that as the photo mat. There's a lot of things you could do. So that is what I am going to do. All right, so I am going to show you what I finished. I still need to add something inside this pocket, but I like how this page turned out. I think everything coordinates real well. It's got a touch of the gold, but most of it is the green background, the green leaves and stems, and then the flowers and the wreath. So we started with that. I did do a turnbuckle here. So that'll open like that. So over here is a place to put a 4x6 photo, another 4x6 photo. You'll notice I pieced papers together. Here is another pocket. This piece does not go through. I just cut it down 2 inches. It doesn't go all the way through. So anyhow, that's how that piece stays closed. And then this comes up. So this, I decided I had enough paper left over. I just left it plain. So I could have put another photo mat on here and cut it out, but I decided to leave it plain. Maybe later I'll go through and add another element to it once I see what I have left. Here we have the 4.5 by 6.5 photo mat, and then I cut around it with pieces of this. So there is that. Why is the camera crooked? Does that bother you as much as it bothers me? So anyhow, so that comes up. There's a magnet in here, a magnet here, and then a magnet later on I'll show you. So then I used pieces of this, the wreath paper, the plain green paper. There's the photo mat and teeny little strips on the side. It looked funny without it, so it's just the straight lines with a little bit of the zigzaggy piece. If you have the paper, you'll know what I mean. Just a really tiny piece, a little, about 1/8 of an inch, maybe even smaller. 4.25 by 4.25 photo mat, and then again paper piecing. So there is room for 4.25 or 4x4 photos here, and then here. So this one, again, at the end, I found I had paper left over. I just put the green straight down on there. I matted the 4.25 by 6.25 photo mat with a 4.5 by 6.5, maybe even a little smaller piece of black cardstock just to separate it. So there is a magnet under here. So that is how those go. That, and then that. All right, let's talk about what we're going to do for the back of page 2, the front of page 3. So this is a flap. This is a flap that comes down. It's got a pocket in it. And then there is room here. And then this will open like that. Will I add a turnbuckle here? Probably, just because I've added some throughout there. But I also need to put a magnet here. So I will do that. And then this is just a large side loading pocket, which gives us room for something pretty or not. So this is what I have. So I'm going to choose my elements first. All right, wait, before I do that. So we have the black and white. It's not really white, but black and white, the green and white. So I don't want to go with the green and white. So I don't want, as much as I love this, I don't want to go with that here because I would have to repeat the same colors as I did in the page before. I mean, I don't have to. I could pull out the black here. I could even cut this, which is a possibility. Maybe I'll do that here. But I also have this piece. And this is interesting because I don't have the gold. I haven't used any of the gold. So I thought I could actually put this here. I do have the love earlier. But if I put that here, what would I put over here? Probably nothing. I would just use some of the beautiful paper. See, I don't like these two together. I don't know that I have. Do I want this one here? Well, I'm thinking about it. But in the meantime, I pulled out these papers. So so we're going with the gold and black, and that's why I chose this one. You know what? I think I'm just going to go with that. So this will be my focal point. This has a lot of the gold and black. And then this below the lettering has this paper without all of the words on it, but it's the same. So I think these three, plus this is the focal point, will be great for the back of page 2 and the front of page 3. So that's what I am going to do. Exactly how I'll use it. Do I want that there or that there? Since I've got the focal point on the front of the pages, I'm going to put it on the back of this page. And then I'm just going to have pretty paper here. I'm not going to worry about it. What I'm probably going to do is have a pull out that's got a flap that will cover some of this. Maybe I'll use those stamps as sort of a small focal point on here. You know what? I forgot I didn't look at these. Oh, so I've got this, which is nice, and that will match, so I can use that. I have this piece, which is pretty. I'm not going to use that one because it's white. This one has the white. I'm not going to use that. It's got the flowers. It's a lot of the flower paper. I'll think about it. Probably not. That's just a border strip. That's got green. That's got the green. That's the, I could use that. Nope. This is the 8, same thing as this. And that's too small to do anything with. So that's what I have to work with. Let me show you what I come up with. Okay, so I have a piece of white cardstock and I inked the edge in brushed corduroy because it's a color that's similar to the background here. So I am going to put this on. Now I pulled the magnets off and I'm going to put them on top of this. I just try not to have too many layers. You know, want them to be as strong as possible. So let me make sure there is a 1/16 of an inch border all around the edge here. And then once I get that done, then I will burnish. Come on. Needs to be closer to the top. Might as well spend the time and get it right now rather than cry about it later. Okay. Not that I'd cry. Okay, now I will make sure. This cover is where I want it to be. So what I'll do is, I have 2 magnets of different sizes. That's okay. This is a little bigger than 1/2 inch. I think that's 1/2 inch. I don't know where I got them. They've been in my stash. I wanted some strong magnets. So now I see where I have those little dabs of glue. I'll put some double-sided permanent adhesive because these magnets do not have the permanent adhesive on it. Wipe off that glue. Oops. And then, oops. There we go. And then this will go on top of that. Make sure it looks good. Okay. So what would you use this album for? Wedding, anniversary, honeymoon, bridal shower? I mean, those are the obvious answers. But could you use it as like a garden journal? Could you use it as a heritage album? I mean, the paper is definitely love, but still, lots of things you could do with it. And making sure that the magnets are going to be secure where they are. I mean, the permanent double-sided adhesive is going to keep them in their place. And then if you can get the paper to wrap around that, that's definitely going to keep it where it needs to be. All right, now, when you put the feature on the front, you don't want to center it because then this will get in the way. So you want to, and I already put a line on there, you want to keep it justified over to the left a little bit. I'm going to just take a little bit of this brushed corduroy and go around the edges of this because I don't want the white core of the paper to show. Now, it's not super important because there's some white in the paper, but it's just how I like to do things. It'll just blend in a little bit better. All right, so I want a little green on here because there is a little green in the focal point. It's got the white roses and the green petals. So if that is the furthest it can be, and there's lines on this paper to help me match it up. I'm going a little closer to the top than I am the bottom. Okay. Fabulous. I was toying with the idea of putting a thin black layer underneath this green because there is the writing, the black writing here, but I decided that it wasn't that important. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of self-adhesive glue or double-sided tape. I'm going to go on the fabric, and I'm also going to use my liquid adhesive, and I'm also going to use hot glue. Yes, all three. I guess I should figure out exactly where it's going to go. Let's eyeball this. All right, there's a 1/4 of an inch around all four sides, so no big deal. Why am I using 3 different kinds of adhesive? I want it to stay. It's a different texture, different material than what I usually use. I guess I don't need this yet. And then once I put the hot glue on, I need to sort of get it going, because of course that will cool down faster than everything else will dry. Get it on. push it down. All right, reaching next to me for my lint roller. There's something underneath it, but that's okay. It's linen. It's a little imperfect. Well, how do we think that looks? Sort of like it. What I'm going to do, though, is glue this onto here. So I'm just putting a little glue on the inside perimeter. I am planning on putting flowers around the sides. I have to make the flowers, so that is not done yet. All right. Do I want to glue this on now while I'm still working on the book? Yeah, I'm almost done with it. Some came out the top. Oh, good, I can get it off. Come on. There we go. I didn't want to cut the fabric, but I like it so far. Okay. Okay. All right, so there we go with the front cover. I still need to cover the rest of it, and I need to cover this part. So I will do that next. I'll cut the paper for that, and then I'll show you how to cut the paper for that. Okay, I'm going to cover this portion. So to start out, I'm using a piece of white cardstock that is 1 3/4 by 8 3/8. From the right side going in, I'm going to measure 1 1/8. So I'm putting that at the 1 1/8 mark and adding a little tick mark there. 1 1/8 up here at the top. And there's a tick mark. Then I'm going to determine what the center of this is, and I think it's 4 3/16. But a way to find out for sure is to match the ends and then just sort of crease it there at the corner, not a big crease, just a little to determine where your center line is. And then I'm going to draw a line from the center line to that tick mark on the side. Oops. So same here. From the tick mark we made at the 1 and 1/8 for there. Actually, I probably didn't need to draw a line as much as I needed to cut it. So now I'll cut it and have to erase the line, which is no big deal. Or I could put it in my paper trimmer. Either or. Make sure it's straight down. All right, there's that. Okay, so we'll throw those out. I'll erase my pencil lines. I'll ink up the edges. But before, see, look how that will fit nicely. Before I do that, I'm going to take a piece of paper to go inside. And this is 8 1/8 by 1 9/16. Yep. And I'm going to go up how many? 15/16. So 15/16, not quite 1. And make a tick mark there on the bottom. And do it here from the left side. 15/16. And then determine where the center is. Which center is 4 1/16. And I'm not going to draw a line. I've gotten smarter. I'm going to just take my blade and cut and do the same for here. And there we go. So once I ink it up, I'll glue this down and put that on there. Now, the same measurements for the inside, I just added an extra one with this decorative paper. And this starts out by being 8 inches by 1 3/8. And then the little, and you go up 3/4 of an inch and find out the center. And that's how you'll do that. So let me ink up the edges. I'll put it on, and then we're done with the little corners of the book. All right, so let me show you what I came up with. So on this page, there's our focal point. So it's got the love, and we've got this pattern here, and there's a pattern there. So keep that in mind. Now I did use one of these clock hands, whoops, get over there, as a closure. So that'll just slide, and then this will open up. So at the top here, I've got that as a tuck spot. I suppose I could add a photo mat to there, but I like having it just useful for any size. And then below, so I've got both of these patterns, and basically I just took a little scrap, rounded the top because I just like the look of that. And that goes in this little pocket. On the back of the pocket was the same paper as there. And then when you open that up, So here's, of course, our photo mats. I have a little snippet of the paper, and this, of course, has the stripes going landscape. And then this is one of those stripes I just cut just to sort of have a finish to it. Um, you really can't see it except for the fact that you see it's not just all stripes. So anyhow, and then another tuck spot here. So that closes, that closes. Now, just something as a side note, there is a magnet in the page below, and so this keeps wanting to catch on the magnet. And then this opens up. It looks to me a little unfinished. I'm not sure what I'm going to do to finish it. I might just put a photo mat, or I might just leave it. Because again, it gives you room to put your photos on. So there's that. And then the coordinating page. So as I said, I was going to make a pocket with a flap, and I did. So here we've got that strip, which matches here. And then this, of course, is that same paper. That'll open up, and I just put another piece of the paper that I used the stamp and the ink on. And the back is just that paper. That's what I did with that pocket alone. But I think the page goes together real nice. Oh, and of course I took some of the adhesive matte pearl gems, just a couple of gold ones in the medium and too small. One of the reasons I did that is because when this page closes, these will keep this from getting I don't know. I just liked having that little spacer there so this doesn't get hung up on maybe this paper or whatever. So that is what I did for that set of pages. All right, I think you've got an idea of how I choose what I choose to go in my mini albums. I'll just point out that we started out with the black and beige. We have the green, beige, and white. We've got the gold, black, and white. And now we're back to the black, green, and white. So each page grouping has its own personality and its own set of papers that I used. So obviously I choose the focal point, I look for papers to go with it, and then I match the adjoining page to coordinate, although I may not use all of the same papers. This was a simple page, and there's that. And then the final page, I hadn't used the stamps yet. So I chose the stamps to go down here. I hadn't used this, so that matches along with that. I could add this page to this, and then I used a lot of the paper with the flowers on this page. So, and then I had some stamps. I wanted to put something here, so that's what I did with that. I do show you in a little bit how to cut this and how to make the cover and those raised pieces. So let me show you that. All right, we're going to make this piece. I already had made it and then realized I wanted to show you the process. So I cut a piece because I'm going to duplicate this. So the bottom layer is going to be white that I ink around the edge, and then we're going to use the gold with the white piece on top, and that's all I'm going to do for that. For this one, I did the white and then inked it, then green, and then a pattern paper. This one has 3 layers. The outside will only have 2. So I'm grabbing a piece of the white paper that's 1 3/4 by 8 5/16. I'm going to make a tick mark coming from the right hand side over to 1 3/16. I'll do the same at the top. Then I will grab my, I make a tick mark in the center on the left-hand side at 4 3/16. To verify that's the center, you can put the ends together and just crease real gently the very center, and that way you know that's the center of your paper. Now, if when you made this, you made it differently, then you have to go by this angle. And I guess a way you could do it is take paper, put this down, trace that, and then cut it down that way. Not as accurate, but sometimes it'll do the trick. So I'm going to just take my ruler, line up the tick marks. That's that. Line up my tick marks here. And let's take a look and see how that looks. Pretty good. I flip it over. Yep, pretty good. I mean, there's more of an angle on it over here, but it's pretty good. Then to do, if the angle's right on there, then all you want to do is place this down on your paper, draw a pencil line, cut it. I'm going to cut it just, it's going to be too big, but I'm just going to cut it for right now. I'm going to cut on the pencil line. You could use your craft knife if you wanted to. And then there we go. And then cut it down. I need to cut it a little shorter. And then that's how you can make the piece to go on here. Then I'll glue all this and we'll be done with covering of the book. Okay, I'm going to show you real quick how I made the frame. So obviously I have this mold. It's a Stamperia mold, I believe. Oh, I'm trying to remember the paper collection. I am not able to find it available anymore, so it's a moot point. It does measure 3.5 by 5. But if you have a frame, any size really will do. You just coordinate everything to go along with it. So I am just taking my Delight paper clay and pushing it into the mold, and I'll take off what's left on the top because I want it as flat as possible. I'll let it dry overnight, and then once it's dry, I'll make sure that it stays in flat. You know, even if you let it, after it's dry, put a book on it just to keep it from warping. But anyhow, that's how I make my frame. Let me show you how I work with more of the cover. Okay, so I'm gonna play around with the cover. First thing I did is I took my mold and added air dry clay and made this image, this frame. So it's about, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch thick at the widest. When it dried, I made sure I sandwiched it between a couple of pieces of chipboard and rubber banded it just so it would dry flat. Now, I painted it, I mixed paint, so the color is not exactly this color, but it's close. But first thing I want to do is take some off-white. I have some light buttermilk, which is sort of close to the, well, see, that's a little whiter, but there is some of the white looks like this light buttermilk. So I'm going to put that on just on the edge. So I'm going to do that first. And I guess I could use a dauber, but I'm just going to use my fingers just to accentuate some of the the patterns and textures in here. There's a lot of detail in there, and I sort of like that detail. So I just want to pull that out. All right, so this is done. I'm good with this. I've already plugged in my hot glue gun because I want to use a hot glue gun to glue this down. But what am I going to glue this down to? So while I was playing around with the paint colors, I just took my leftover paint and painted a piece of chipboard because I wanted it a light color. In my stash for no less than 10 years, probably closer to 12, I have this adhesive cloth. I don't know exactly what it is, but I want to cover this piece of chipboard with this linen. Now I've seen other people do this, covering chipboard with cloth or fabric or something for their covers, so it's not my idea. But I thought it would be a nice look. The color is perfect, and I like the texture, the idea of the texture with this. Now, if you don't have this adhesive fabric, that's okay. Either you could use paper or you could use non-adhesive fabric, you know, just like a muslin or a linen, um, or skip the step. All right. Doesn't matter which color. I'm going to use the lighter side. I'm going to make sure that's flat. And put that down. And then I'm going to cut the corners like I would as if I was covering an album. And I'm finding the blade is probably easier than scissors. And there we go. And then I'm going to add glue to it as well, just because I don't know how well that adhesive is going to cover it. I really don't need to put glue here, but I will. So I'm going to put this frame on top of it. So I have, you know, normally when I am decorating, I'll take everything I want for the front cover and put it aside. I had no inspiration for the front cover. Nothing came to mind. I'm going to be using this, so I will cut that down. And I sort of like how that looks. I was thinking, do I need to have, see how it's got the black, do I need a frame inside? And then I decided, you know what, I'm not going to have a frame inside because that way if for some reason it gets discombobulated, that's okay. Now I also could have made this as a sort of like where you can stick a frame inside, but I'm not going to do that in this point. I'm just not going to do that. All right, I do need to cut this down a little bit. All right, so here we are with the finished cover. So there's the frame and then the cut apart. You can see I cut it down a little bit. There is our fabric covered piece of chipboard. I put a little bit of green underneath it just so it would pop a little more. And then this gold pattern paper below it. And then there is white that I actually inked around the edges so it would tone it down a little bit. The white looked a little too stark for me. I also added flowers that I made using the paper scraps. I have a video, pretty sure I have a video. If I do, I'm going to link it in the description box. I used dies and cut out 4 or 5 for each flower, spritzed it with water, used a stylus to make indentations in it, and then piled them up and hot glued them. These are just a couple of dies I had. And then as you can see, I added some of the gold matte gems or whatever they're called interspersed throughout this whole little arrangement. The spine this is a piece of fabric color chipboard that is actually one of the border strips that I placed on that gold pattern paper and then more white. The back, of course, I cut in 2 different pieces, layered that onto a piece of gold paper, and then this is different than the other side, but it still is a piece of the paper on the fabric, on the gold, on the white. And that's it. I mean, it seems like a lot. I showed you a lot more than I normally do. I hope I didn't bore you to death, but people have been asking for a video like this, so I added a lot of different tips and tricks that I don't usually put in my videos when I'm as far as how I choose the paper and all the details of decorating. So again, I hope you enjoyed this. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. It does help the YouTube algorithm, as well as subscribing it. That's the best way I know of you telling me that you enjoy what it is I do. Thank you again for watching and have a fabulous day.